Come and dream with me.
Hello and welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every fortnight we get together to talk about movies, TV, and online content and help you answer the question, should Easter eggs be mandatory? No, they shouldn't. You should just let people make the stuff they want to make. I'm host Ashley Hobley. Joining me today, Dylan Blight.
I don't know what that reference is, but I don't know if I want to know. Is it for Marvel or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Yeah. Okay.
Someone was upset that there wasn't more Easter eggs in Andor.
Was it a female?
Yes.
Fuck, I know who it was. Well, I don't want to say it, but I know who it was.
I mean, that was one of two options for this week's opening.
Does their name rhyme with race?
Yes. I mean, race would technically be part of their first name.
And is their last name rhyme with
Rudolph? Yes.
Sandorf? Okay, yep. Okay. Fucking hell. I knew straight away.
My other opening would have been, if you go doing something Bargo, does the Bargo count to you? Or something along those lines. What a
that
week
motherfucker.
What a week for critics being dicks. Right?
I think we talked about him before, where I think I've admitted I used to watch his stuff, and then at some point I was like, what the fuck? You're like, I was like, I'm so, every time I see him pop up now, I'm like, I don't know if you were always like this or you changed, but I'm fucking glad I don't listen to anything you say anymore because you're a dumb motherfucker.
All right, let's jump into this week. So on today's episode, we're talking about what's out watch history, covering a little bit of news, giving some thumbs to some pretty big trailers, and doing this week's top three. Kick things off. I've been to the cinema a few times this last week.
Looked like you went to cinema 6 times today, but
only twice. But yeah. Okay. So I went and saw Bodies. So this is the new A24 black comedy horror film from Helena Huijsen, who's a Dutch actress / writer in her English language debut. Starring Amanda Steinberg, Maria Bakalova, Mahala Harold, Chase Sue Wonders, Rachel Sennett, Lee Pace, and Pete Davidson. It's about a bunch of young 20-somethings who have a party at one of their father's mansions during a hurricane. And they decide to play the game Bodies, which is like a variation of like Werewolf or, those type of games. But then people start really dying, and they're like, who the fuck is killing each other? Yeah. Really good. We saw the trailer, obviously, a few weeks ago. Well, would be a while ago. We
watched it about 10 years ago, because that's how long it takes for A24 films to come to Australia, but don't get me started.
Yeah. It's really good. As someone who's not a big horror fan, I found it enjoyable. I don't think it's as laugh out loud as I was hoping it to be, but I think it is a fun satire on, this generation of people. Them, using hype words like you're toxic and don't want to escalate the situation and other things like that. Pete Davidson's quite good in his small role, playing a very Pete Davidson character. And yeah, the way it wraps up is very fitting for this generation. I'll just say it that, in my opinion.
Fuck you saying, old man?
Who knows? You'll have to watch the movie and find out.
Wish I could.
Well,
No, I actually could have. It was at my cinema, but I couldn't go tonight. I couldn't go the other night, and I can't go tomorrow. So I'm like, of course.
Eventually.
Oh.
Yeah, very funny. I'm sure you saw that, like, one of the girls in the ensemble does a podcast, and she makes very true remarks about how hard it is to do podcasts.
No, I did not see this, actually.
So yeah, that's something to look forward to.
What, the real actress does it?
Like one of the characters does a podcast.
One of the characters does a podcast, right? Okay.
Yeah.
No, the only thing I'm saying about this movie, other than the trailer when we watched it, was someone reviewed it and did some weird review where they talked about Amanda Stolberg's boobs as part of their review for some reason.
I don't understand. They're very clothed this entire time.
Yeah. And then they like replied and was like, on on Instagram or whatever, and was like, "Yeah, well, fuck you," and then that was very
It's
weird.
like
I
a
was
DM,
like,
and then
and then it was a whole then it was a whole like, you should be allowed to take criticism. I'm like, I don't really feel like if a review's like criticizing your body that it's really actually like film criticism. So you know what I mean? Like,
especially when it's not accurate.
Yeah, it was a very weird like old man, old woman, whoever wrote that. I don't know. Fucking
old age.
Review. That's the only thing I've seen since the trailer. But I woke up to one morning, I was like, what the fuck is going on?
But yeah, it's very enjoyable. Yeah, I think the best part is just them kind of turning on each other and like hearing them air all their dirty laundry and that kind of stuff, and like kind of yeah, that kind of is the most interesting part of the movie. So as they're all concerned about who the potential killer is. Yeah, very enjoyable. So check out Bodies. Soundtrack's really good as well.
Does it have the song?
No.
The bodies hit the
No, but bodies do hit the floor.
Fuck, all right.
Very hard. All right, so I also went and watched Moonage Daydream. So this is the...
Did you watch this before or after Bodies?
I watched this after.
Okay, that's a weird like double feature, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, so this is the documentary about David Bowie, written, directed, and produced, and edited by Brett D. Morgan, who previously did the Kurt Cobain documentary, which apparently a lot of criticism for that it was very inaccurate in the much after its release and that kind of stuff. That beside the point. This is like this documentary is used almost exclusively footage that either of David Bowie, either footage that he filmed himself, archival footage, lots of his different paintings, journals, entries into that. There's like no talking heads. Yeah, it's all archival and live performances and that kind of stuff. I didn't enjoy it. I was like kind of restless the entire time. I just felt it wasn't very informative about David Bowie. It didn't have a very clear direction of what it wanted to do. It was a bit all over the place. Yeah, and it just felt like he was trying to make it as visually interesting as possible. I think he was trying to emulate David Bowie, and you could see the effort he was putting into trying to be David Bowie. You know what I mean? Yeah, it just didn't really click for me. I think it is interesting to look at, but it's like, it feels like he did more work than he needed to do. In a lot of regards. And as someone who doesn't know a lot about David Bowie, I feel like I didn't come out of this finding out much more about David Bowie, which is kind of a disappointment. But yeah, obviously I'm on the other end too. Like everybody seems.
It makes it also because it made me wonder if I would enjoy it more as someone who actually has listened to every David Bowie album.
I mean, like, potentially. Yeah. I mean, you know, obviously he's talking a lot and kind of obviously explore it. And it's a few different interviews that he had, like TV interviews and that kind of stuff, like him talking about why he's putting on the makeup and like dressing that way and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, if you didn't know that is interesting. But yeah, I just feel like it's so unfocused and all over the place. And I feel like the audio design around this is not very good. Like, if you're going to play if you're going to have David Bowie singing, you know, maybe don't overlap it with like not crowd cheers, but like other audio on top. I mean, it's fine that people are talking. It's like other noises that don't really help with the storytelling, whatever storytelling you're trying to go with in this. So
I just looked on. I was just like quickly looking to see on IMDb because I was wondering how long it was. I'll say one of the user reviews here. Their setup is it's not a biography; it's a census attack. So
yeah,
they gave it 10. Like as a positive, saying they said 10 stars. So they're saying like it's just a.
Yeah, I think it'll be definitely. I might just be on the very far end of.
No, it looks like the reviews are either people love it or hate it. So
yeah, so that's a no from me.
Yeah.
Then I also checked out George Miller's latest film, 3,000 Years of Longing, starring Idris Elba and Tilda Swinton, in which Tilda Swinton plays a. What is she? She's a scholar, but I think she calls herself a narratologist. She's someone
I was
who's
gonna
like
say,
focused in the
I thought she
telling
was
of
just
stories.
a human,
Who, after going to a conference in Istanbul, comes across a small lamp. After cleaning it, she releases a djinn played by Idris Elba, who grants her 3 wishes in return for his release. But as someone who has studied stories, she understands that djinn often tricksters, and whatever you wish for comes back and screws you. So she's not super keen on making any wishes, and is weirdly content with her life and doesn't wish for anything. So now they're kind of stuck in this weird situation. So it ends up being Idris Elba kind of recounting how he got into this position, how he got captured and trapped into the lamp in the first place, and kind of the long history. His 3,000 years in captivity. So you go back to like ancient, I don't even know where. The ancient Middle East, in the time of sultans and this kind of stuff, and kind of tracks his different relationships with other people who have opened his lamp and that kind of stuff. Really interesting, visually very interesting. Just really enjoyable stories that he tells of his many years and different people he came across in that time. But it doesn't quite stick to the landing. Like, all that's really interesting, and then you come down to her making her 3 wishes, and it's kind of not up to the same standard as the rest of the movie. But yeah, visually really interesting. Yeah, I would recommend checking it out, but yeah, I don't think it doesn't quite stick the landing. And I've read some people have like feel like there's some reasonably messed up ideology towards the end, like around.
In what regard?
I can't say without it being spoilers.
Right, gotcha. Is it still Fair Wishes or?
Yeah, I guess, and like how it could potentially be perceived.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
He doesn't wish for one
I
piece.
enjoyed it. I think it's a good movie and worth checking out, but obviously it has barely been advertised. You know, if we weren't doing a film podcast, I don't think you'd know about this movie, which is crazy to think when it's the follow-up to Mad Max Fury Road.
I was saying, I feel like I would still know about this movie, but like...
Okay, if you weren't a film fan...
Yeah, okay, that's probably
the average person would not know.
The average
about this
person
movie.
probably does not know about this movie.
Which,
I want to watch it, but the only reason I want to watch it is because it's a George Miller movie, so it's his first movie since Fury Road, so...
Yeah. Yeah, really interesting. Also fun, Megan Gale cameo, who seems to be like... George Miller is really trying to make it up to her for Justice League Baldwin getting cancelled.
Probably worked out for the better.
It did work out for the better. All right. Dylan, you watched Goodnight Mummy. So this is a remake of an older movie, right?
It's a remake of a Austrian film that came out in 2014, I think. That sounds about right. If not, I'm a year off. But yeah, so it's a little indie horror movie that did really well, and it's a foreign language film horror movie that did very well. So yeah, look, I think I gave it a 4 in the review I put up the other day. My review basically boils down to I don't really know why this film exists. Like, there's nothing particularly bad about it, but it's just nothing good about it either. I don't like, it seems like a bygone era. I think I was just very surprised that, because there was a period where Hollywood was remaking every Japanese and foreign horror movie they could find and get their hands on, and it seemed very commonplace. And I thought we got to a stage where we'll sort of
being a bit more selective.
Yeah, it was beyond that. Or the only reason we would Hollywood would remake foreign language films, horror movies, and stuff in particular would be because they had something to add, or like the change of location would add something to it, or like the American take on it would be a little bit different or something. But no, this is just a straight, hey, look, we're just making this because for the people who can't be fucked reading subtitles. Yep. Yeah. There's really no reason for the film to exist. Like the performances, they're all great. Shot fine. It's not shot anywhere near as good as the original, because the original was actually shot on film and this is digital, so it doesn't actually have like an element of the like sort of grittiness to it has. But the story is the same. It's slightly changed, like with certain character things, but not enough to actually make the movie feel completely different, just slightly Americanized it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I just don't know. It's weird. I don't know why this movie is this, but it's not the first time this has happened, and not the last time, I'm sure, either. So there you
All right. So in the last week, we did our annual Emmy pilot specials, and there's one that you've continue to watch. The first season of Ozark you completed watching.
Yeah, fuck that show. So I watched the first season of Ozark. I'm on to the second, but I'm not going to watch it anymore. But for what I did watch,
why aren't you watching anymore?
Because one of the lead actresses stole the award that should have gone to Ray Seahorn, Best Supporting Actress.
Make sure you listen to our Emmy discussion in which we discussed the results of this year's Emmys.
Yeah, so that aside, Ozark's good. I definitely feel like it's, as I think I discussed in our spoiler cast for the first couple of episodes, I was like, definitely a show that I've always had on my list, and now that sort of kicked my ass, I was like, I'll keep watching the first season after we watch those first 2 episodes, and the whole season's very good, and I like I don't remember if you said, like, after the first 2 episodes, you were like, there was something you said that you were like a little bit iffy on, like, or how things would continue or something like that. But I definitely feel like the way things play out for that first season is definitely always keeps you like on the hook. I felt on the hook after each episode, like, oh shit, what's going to happen now? What's going to happen now? And especially by the time you get to the last episode, I was like, what the fuck? I didn't see that coming. And then like a good what the fuck cliffhanger sort of a moment leads you into the second season where things are starting to take shape. But yeah, no, I'm good, and hopefully I do calm down and can continue watching it at some point.
All right. Then you got a few eclectic other things you've watched. You watched Hidden Fingers.
Oh, yeah, I did watch Hidden Fingers. So I never watched that when it came out. That's the one about the women who helped the space race, like the mostly involved in the maths side of things, it was really interesting. It was like sort of it was a heartwarming, got these great performances in it, but yeah, so it's a heartwarming story, I guess. And no, it's heartwarming plus sad, I guess. Like, that's the thing, I guess.
Because they're black women and they got oppressed.
Yes. Like there's, I guess my only criticism for the movie, and it's not really a full criticism, but like the movie, I feel like is a lot nicer than it probably was, if that makes sense. Like she, like, I can't remember the actress name, but the main one, I can't remember. I don't know. What's the movie called again?
Hidden Figures.
I fucking
is it Octavia Spencer?
No, it's Taraji. What's her name?
Taraji P. Henson.
Yes, it's her. So I can't remember her first name. She like sort of gets invited into this she's like the main character because she starts working alongside who's the main dude that's in this? I can't remember anyone. She starts working alongside. This is not loading it. Kevin Costner, right? So he's like heading up this certain area where they're like working on the main figures and stuff like that. And she like at first comes in, it's really awkward, but then she starts, proving herself. Like she's a fucking, she is the human calculator, basically, proving her shit. But you have to see all these scenes where she has to go to the bathroom, and because there's no bathroom for black people inside NASA, she has to like run like 40 minutes down the road. And there's this like a whole scene where one time she comes back and Kevin Costner's like, where the hell do you go every day? You're always like wasting away for an hour. And then, she has to explain that she has to go so far because there's actually nowhere for her to go to the bathroom. But the way that scene plays out is like a lot nicer, and like he ends up sort of doing good by her. And like this, yeah, it's definitely a feel-good movie, which, as I'm saying, like I don't feel like is a proper criticism, but to a point, I feel like you could certainly be blinded to the fact that I reckon this was a lot they would have faced. Like you definitely see them face the racism and roadblocks as both being black and women in a field where that is definitely run by white men. But yeah, it also just plays out very like, very, like everything's all right in the end, especially by the end. You get to the end and they're like, oh, NASA has a department for her now and stuff. I'm like, yeah, but how many years between when she did all her work for NASA, and what year did they set up that area in NASA? You know, like near the end of her life, or like after she died, or you know what I mean? Like there's in retrospect, when you really think about it, you're like, is it like? Yeah. But anyway, all in all, I think it's a very good movie, and all three of the main girls. What's the one I can never remember?
Genome.
Yeah. Like she's very good as well, and Octavia Spencer's always good in everything. So,
Yep.
No, it is good.
All right. Then you also watch Casper.
Yeah, fucking. I'm going to be completely honest. Cherie's like, I want to watch Casper. I'm like, I'll fucking watch Casper. I'll put that on and I'll watch that. And then I fell asleep.
Wow. Okay.
But you know, Casper, the friendly ghost.
How was the first 15 minutes of Casper?
I think I got about 45 minutes in. Then I, like an old man, fell asleep in my chair. But that's fine. Yeah. So probably don't ask me about that one.
All right. And then I saw that you celebrated Disney Plus Day by watching Thor: Love and Thunder. Question: most important question: are the goats still funny?
Yes, that's I was going to like goats still make me laugh. Everything I've said about this movie, 100% still true. Goats still very funny though. So the movie completely undermines any and all serious moments in it. I stand by everything I've said. Goats very funny. Still made me laugh.
Yeah. So I watched the Marvel December. No, I watched the documentary about Thor: Love and Thunder, which is quite interesting. Obviously, showing them working in the volume. It looks super impressive when you do the wide shot, and you can see that they're actually in that place, and that kind of stuff, and like kind of explaining how they did. Well, they don't really explain how they did like the black and white section, or explaining how they did that world or anything. But it is interesting, like hearing the other people talk. Obviously, it's also a celebration of Chris Hemsworth, like playing that same role for like 10 years. The most mainline films somebody's ever done before. You know what I mean? The first fourth Marvel movie that they've done. But yeah, it gave me some appreciation. Also, they made real life models of the goats.
Nice.
Like, including one that's like, one of the models is like he's sticking his tongue out. And it's like full silicone tongue. Everything. Super realistic. Just so they could get like reference of where they actually were. So, yeah. Lots of appreciation for like all the behind the scenes stuff, like especially making like the hammer and the axe and everything, and like seeing the difference between like if they want Chris Hemsworth muscles to really budge, they give him like a really heavy one to use, and then if they actually need to use it, they get a really light one that could actually hit somebody and not kill them. So that was really good. And I also watched the Obi-Wan documentary, which follows the Obi-Wan series. Also very good. Very cool. Really good images of like them sitting in the volume watching.
I was going to say, everything you're watching is just people recording something in
the volume.
Yeah.
But no, like as a behind the scenes thing, like they show them looking like it's very well framed. Some of the shots of like Ewan McGregor standing in front of a massive screen showing shots from the prequels. That looks cool as a visual on the volume.
Oh, wait, I think I saw those in the trailer.
Yeah, in the trailer and that kind of stuff. So, and yeah, so lots of interviews with other people and like, talking to young little Leia for the first time and that kind of stuff. And like, my favorite was Kumail, like talking about his character and like how cool it was being on set and how he jokes about really all you need to do to be a Jedi is figure out how to put the hood up properly and that kind of stuff. So really good time. So yeah, those were checking out. Of course, they came to Disney Plus for Disney Plus Day. All right, let's move into the mandatory Netflix segment of the show. I've watched all 10 episodes of Cyberpunk Edgerunners. So this is the new anime series based on the super successful tabletop
Board game.
Yeah. Which got adapted into a video game, which wasn't necessarily successful, but is now spun off into this animated series, animated by Studio Trigger, who's a very well-known animation studio. It follows a young young man named David, who's studying in, who's from a very single mother home, scraping by, but he's getting sent to this massive, really high prestige academy, which he doesn't really fit into because he can't keep up with all the other tech that the other people have, because obviously set in this cyberpunk future. So, he's always getting into trouble and that kind of stuff. His mother dies in an accident, and he kind of finds himself into, it's pretty much a gangster movie, I guess, but like in a cyberpunk setting. He joins a family and then kind of works his way up, or like earns a reputation within. But then also there's all these cybernetics and stuff, and he gets this cybernetic implant in his back that makes him like super fast, which is visually really interesting. I think it's beautifully animated, very, very violent, really interesting world, very funny at times. Like, it's the first few episodes, you see guys walking around, like sitting around with like VR headsets on, and then like little suction things on their penises, just going in the middle of town, up and down, simulating. What do you think they're simulating? Yeah, and there's obviously the love story between David and Netrunner that he meets, called Lucy, that slowly develops over the course of the season. It does tell a complete story over the 10 episodes. I don't think it's definitely not setting up for a second season. So if you're not going to go into this committing to like multiple seasons of a show, this is definitely a self-contained story. But yeah, beautiful, a really good show. I would highly recommend if you can, get past it being an anime. Dylan.
I watch anime. Why are you saying that?
Because it's a bit.
It's outrageous. That's bullshit.
All right.
I love anime. Kieran's a fucking fake hater.
That's true. But yeah, you should check out Cyberpunk. Edgerunners.
It
It did slightly raise my chances of like wanting to play the game again. Apparently, player numbers have gone up since the show's release, according to a study I saw on Steam. Some on Twitter about Steam sales, because obviously the game is 50% off at the moment, I believe, on Steam. Yeah, so funny how that works.
Mm.
Then I also watched the final one of these untold documentaries, Race of the Century. So this is the one that is focused on the Australia 2, the Australia winning the America's Cup in 1983, following John Bertrand and his team as they broke the 132-year dominance of the American team. Fantastic documentary. Probably one of the better documentaries I've watched this year. Fascinating story, explaining this. I think the most interesting character, who unfortunately passed away and is not involved, wasn't interviewed, was the designer of the winged keel. I'm trying to find his name again. Ben Lexon, who didn't have like formal education or anything, and just came up with this idea for this one piece of tech equipment that completely was different to anything else in yachting at the time, and completely kind of changed the game completely. And then Australia is like, we're going to keep this wing keel secret the entire time. So for the entire process of the America's Cup, they're like hiding this thing in the water, having armed guards around the ship at all times and that kind of stuff. And then because there's like a preliminaries situation where they're racing other countries before they can take on the Americans. Like the other teams are like trying to replicate what they think it could be, and then the Australians are kind of fucking with them and like, no, it looks a little bit different than that and that kind of stuff. So that's really enjoyable. They do have the captain of the American yacht team, and kind of telling it from his perspective as well, which is quite interesting. I think the only thing that could have been improved was there's like this big mistake, or like big turning point in the final race, and they don't get his perspective on how that happened or why Australia was able to catch up and beat them and that kind of stuff, which I thought would have been interesting. They got the last ever interview with Bob Hawke before he passed away. So
Is he drinking a beer?
they do show in the closing, like, letting you know what happened afterwards. Like, they have the shot of Bob Hawke sculling a beer at the cricket. So, yeah, it was really nice. I got oddly emotional during this because it's historic and Australians and all that stuff. Sports.
Because you're a nationalist.
Sure. I just love my country. All right.
All right.
I also love Americans losing. Especially, oh man, and it was so corrupt as well. Well, it was pretty corrupt because the whole thing is run by the New York yachting club as well, and they've obviously held the cup for many, many years. They've got an entire room dedicated to this one trophy that has never left. They never lost prior to that. So seeing them get beaten was pretty satisfying. So yeah, I recommend checking out Untold's Rest of the Century on Netflix. It is, I'm going to say it's must watch for Australian sports fans. All right, that's everything in our watch history list. Move into some film news. We're going to kick it off with a bunch of old stuff and new again. Let's start with this one. Blade Runner 2099 limited series is coming to Amazon Prime 40 years after the original Blade Runners changed the landscape of filmmaking forever, and 5 years after the release of Denis Villeneuve's brilliant legacy sequel, Blade Runner 2049. Original director Ridley Scott is returning to the world that he made so indelible in the first place, following up on previous reporting on the development of a new sequel series set in the same world as both the previous movies. We now know that series is officially set to become a reality. According to the Hollywood Reporter, Amazon Studios has given them the green light for the limited series titled Blade Runner 2099 to air exclusively on Prime Video. Scott will serve as executive producer alongside showrunner Silka Lucia, known for creating and showrunning the Apple TV Plus Shining Girls. Amazon television head Vernon Sanders said, the original Blade Runner, directed by Ridley Scott, is considered one of the greatest and most influential science fiction movies of all time, and we're excited to introduce Blade Runner 2099 to our global Prime Video customers. Of course, neither Blade Runner or Blade Runner 2049 were very much financial successes. Dylan, do you think Blade Runner for TV can be a success where it has not been in feature film world?
I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say yes either. How about that? I will say that I'm sort of excited for this though. I definitely want to watch it, and I love both those films, especially the Denis Villeneuve sequel. Really disappointed it didn't do better because there was plans. He's talked about plans for more than one of those that we're not going to get, so that's super disappointing. But I think Ridley Scott being on board is a positive. I think that Prime has shown good quality recently with Rings of Power, I guess, as far as
for their biggest possible franchises they'd have, yeah.
Yeah. Not everything they've done is great, but I would say as far as grabbing an existing property and treating it well, Rings of Power I think is so far nothing but quality in my opinion. But so yeah, I'm pretty keen to learn more about this and what it's going to be about.
Yeah, I'm pretty keen as well. I think I don't think it's crazy that it would be on television. I don't think visually anything is outside the realm of television.
No, not these days.
Not these days. It's just what kind of story do they want to tell, and that kind of stuff. I guess the only thing is obviously jumping another 50 years ahead would be...
Well, it sort of just sets a free bar. As long as they're not going backwards.
You don't have to tie into anything, so...
Yeah, but as long as they're not going backwards and they're we'll
retcon it. Yeah.
Yes, we'll retcon it.
Although I'm pretty sure this guarantees that Harrison Ford is not going to be part of this.
Oh, Harrison Ford is definitely not going to be part of this. And I don't think Ryan Gosling is either, so... But that's totally fine.
Yeah.
I think all new characters, all new story that's fine.
Set in this world, yeah, I'm pretty keen.
You can have the same corporations and you can talk about past events. There's your same cities and
I'm sure
fabric, but
somehow it will be about the same problems because, that's how it always works.
What does it mean to be human?
Yeah.
There,
Just keep Jared Leto away, is what we're saying.
He wasn't bad, and he had like very limited screen time, which sort of helped. But he will not be in it.
But he will not be in this. So yeah, obviously, potentially far away. To use this
Look
very
forward to our new podcast series, Blade Runner Podcasts 2047, 24/7 podcasts. Our Blade Runner podcasts. Blade Runner, an Explosion Network Blade Runner podcast. Look forward to our podcasts.
Blades and Runners. Yeah.
Blades and Runners. Look forward to our podcast. What's it mean to be human.com. Look forward to our podcast, Seagulls. That's a lot of them. Our Blade Runner 2049.
Look forward to our podcast. Unicorns or not? Come on.
Yeah.
All right. Constantine sequel with Keanu Reeves is officially happening. Director Francis Lawrence to return. After nearly 2 decades, Keanu Reeves will return to the role of John Constantine in a sequel to the 2005 cult hit Constantine. Deadline reported that Warner Brothers has greenlit Constantine 2, starring Reeves and reteaming with director Francis Lawrence. Constantine was Lawrence's directorial debut, and he went on to direct I Am Legend and the Hunger Games sequels, so he sharpened his talents and could potentially be back with an even better tale of Constantine's troubles. John is always in trouble, that's his whole thing. While many fans might be asking why now, they should really be asking why not. Not only is Reeves still killing it as action star in the John Wick franchise, but the character of Constantine has gained new interest due to the success of Netflix Sandman series, which has turned the character into Joanna Constantine, but maintained the same cursed history and bad attitude. Dylan, what are your thoughts on Constantine and this sequel news? This kind of came out of nowhere.
Absolutely random news that popped up over there to the point that I had to check it wasn't by a
fake site.
Fake site, yes. Because it is very weird. I don't like the Keanu Reeves movie at all. I don't want a sequel to it. I don't know why we're getting a sequel to it. I don't really care.
I have a soft spot for Keanu Reeves Constantine.
You would, wouldn't you? Yeah.
You know, it's a good time. I don't know what they'd do with it.
In a world where we've now seen proper Constantine and Joanna Constantine, yes, and Constantine, well, we've had both. We've had Matt.
Yeah, Matt, and now, yeah,
and now Joanna Coleman.
Jenna Coleman, yeah.
In a world where we've seen both these iterations, I just can't go back to fucking Keanu Reeves. Like, come on, he's not even British.
That's why it's Constantine, not Constantine.
It's dumb.
That was the joke I wanted to make on Twitter, but I couldn't find the right thing to quote to retweet. You know? Because it's spelt the same way, I'll pronounce it.
Yeah. We should have tied it into a joke about tears of fucking whatever.
Tears of the Kingdom coming to
yeah, that's it.
Tears of the Kingdom, I mean. That's the correct name. Yeah, it's interesting. I guess, you know, you need something to do in between John Wick films.
I'm thinking I'm back.
You know, I guess Warner like, out of all the things Warner Brothers could greenlight, they're like, Constantine 2.
The fuck they cancel a Batgirl movie to make this? They're
like,
oh,
we need a sure hit to get us back in the black. Constantine 2.
This motherfucker running him now, he is smoking acid. He's got to be.
It is something, but yeah, I have a soft spot for that movie.
He's a fucking loose unit, is what he is. Absolute loose unit.
Yeah, hopefully we get Rachel Weisz back. She was great. Yeah.
Hopefully they don't make the movie.
I hope they do. Anyway, then the last weird news story we got. Get ready to relearn the balance of power because a new installment of The Karate Kid is hitting theaters in 2024. Sony Pictures released a statement announcing the release date of future titles, and the yet untitled entry has been dated for June 7th, 2024. The film will be distributed by Columbia Pictures with no director, screenwriter, or cast confirmed. However, if we were to believe previous scoops and leaks, we could find ourselves with a reverse-engineered version of the original film's story. Murphy's Multiverse alleged earlier this August that the film will follow a young and accomplished martial artist that finds himself moving from Beijing to Brooklyn. As he adjusts to his surroundings, he ends up becoming a karate teacher to a hapless pizzeria owner.
I don't understand. Why? But I don't understand. Is it just because the TV show is doing really well?
I think so. I think that's why. Let's make a Karate Kid movie, but something separate to that. It sounds like, because nobody who does Cobra Kai knows anything about this movie at all. I mean, it's better than a potential second Jaden Smith movie, am I right?
I mean, I never watched that. But to be fair, I haven't actually watched the show either. And I was a massive Karate Kid fiend when I was a kid. Like, I used to watch those movies on fucking repeat. Me and my brother actually both loved them. They were movies.
I had a heated argument with one of my friends about what movie was Karate Kid 3. Was it Karate Kid 3? And he thought it was the next Karate Kid was the third movie.
Dumb motherfucker.
Exactly.
I used to even like sit around and like do the
crane kick
shit. Yeah, I used to just do that, fucking in my room and shit.
Yeah.
You know? So, I love those movies. So, yeah, I do want to start the series eventually one day. But
it's up to season
this
6.
whole no, fucking that's the
one thing.
That's the problem. Is
it is crazy that this YouTube original series
yes,
has become like an Emmy-nominated TV show.
My original problem was, I don't want to pay for YouTube Premium to watch that. That was my setback originally. And then by the time they brought it over Netflix, they're like, oh, there's 4 seasons now. I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, that's a commitment. Yeah, I mean, I'll get to it maybe hopefully one day. But yeah, this movie, I think this sounds horrible. This sounds 100% like we want some of the money that the Netflix series is / YouTube series has been generating in popular culture lately. And we're just going to absolutely try and cash in on that. And it ain't going to work because it has absolutely none of the elements that are making the current series popular. So,
well, I'm sure it has karate and it has kids.
Yep, cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. To me, it sounds like they got a script. And they're like, hey.
And add a Karate Kid onto it?
Yeah, they're like, let's just stick this name on it. So, yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting story. So interesting story coming out of TIFF. So a brand new Joker film makes its world premiere at TIFF, but that might be the only time it ever plays. It's called The People's Joker, and it is described as a queer coming-of-age story complete with a copyright-defying array of villains and heroes. And that's the problem right there. Future screenings of the film were pulled due to rights issues. Variety reports that Warner Bros. Discovery, which holds the right to DC characters, including the Joker, may have issued a cease and desist to the filmmaker, who subsequently cancelled the rest of the movie screenings at the Toronto International Film Festival. According to TIFF, the filmmaker has withdrawn this film due to rights issues. We apologize for any inconvenience. Directed and starring Vera Drew, the People's Joker uses multiple filmmaking techniques from animation to CGI to create a truly subversive comic book epic, according to a description from LA's Beyond Festival, where the film is still, as of publication, scheduled to play in October. The People's Joker announces loud and clear to the arrival of a truly singular creative voice within the cinematic space, much to our delight, of a truly rebellious act of creation, liberating and destructive. Do not miss the chance to discover this story for the ages on the big screen. So pretty much what's happened is this transgender person, Vera Drew, has made a movie about the Joker, but retold it as being a trans coming-of-age story, or coming-out story, and is now screening at places, and Warner Brothers is like, nah, mate. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to show it more. Obviously, this is something that's been kickstarted as well, so people have actually put money into it. What have you made of this entire situation?
I think DC in Warner Brothers can eat a fucking dick, is what I think. I think this 100% falls under fair use as far as like legalities go. The biggest example I've seen of someone point this out is someone straight up tweeted like, no one came for fucking Mel Brooks when he made Spaceballs, which is true.
Well, they didn't call characters Darth Vader and said it in the Star Wars universe.
He calls him like fucking...
Characters in the list are called Joker, She literally has someone called Bane in the movie. It's set in actual Gotham City. You know.
How about all the scary movie films and stuff like that? Like,
again, they don't use the actual names.
they do for some of the people.
Okay, so Drew's film may indeed fall under the purview of fair use and parody. The Globe and Mail reported that a title card that displayed before the film ran identified many DC IPs by name, while also stating that any copyright infringement was unintentional, as reported by Variety. The full card reads as follows. The film is parody and is at present time completely unauthorized by DC Comics, Warner Brothers, or anyone claiming ownership of the trademarks therein. Example, Joker, Batman, etc. Aside from licensed stock, all video and graphics featured in the film are original materials, often recreations of iconic comic book movie set pieces created by Vera and a team of over 100 independent artists and filmmakers on 3 separate continents across the COVID-19 pandemic. Any copyright and trademark infringements are not done intentionally. After consulting with counsel, the director believes in good faith that use of these names and characters in an autobiographical context of her personal coming out story is protected by Section 107 of the US Copyright Act in 1976, which allows fair use for purposes such as relevant criticism, social commentary, or education. While Drew may very well have obtained legal counsel prior to the screening of the film, naming the actual characters parodied and declaring segments in the film to be recreations may mean the creative team has, in the words of Austin Chronicles Culture Desk editor Richard Whittaker, walked into a copyright buzzsaw. I think Warner Brothers probably would not have made any issue with this, except she's trying to make money off of it. Because we've seen countless fan-made films and that kind of stuff littered across YouTube, put out through all other places that we've never seen any issues with. But yeah, trying to make money off the characters that DC owns, they're not super fans of, and like, obviously there's an element of DC or Warner Brothers like wanting to have control over these characters, and obviously Joker is a big property that they've got and want to further use in the future, especially with their upcoming Joker 2 film coming up with Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga. So I can understand why they would have put a cease and desist out. I understand they're probably well within their rights to put a cease and desist out. I think it's not a good look. I think because this is a trans creator, it adds an extra layer of it not looking positively for DC. You know? Like, it's not a great look for them going, shutting down a trans director's project, you know? On the other hand, this is probably great for her. Like, even if the movie never comes out again, I mean, her name is everywhere. Like, this is very much a calling card in much the way that I think people have brought up, like, The Spirit of Christmas was a calling card for the South Park guys back 20 years ago or whatever. So, and from what I can tell, they're all positive reviews from the people who were able to go to the one screening. So, I imagine it'll end up somewhere. Apparently, they're seeking distribution. I don't know who's going to be brave enough to try and distribute this movie with DC, potentially, you know, coming down their throat. It's also interesting. Did you ever see the story about the Bridgerton musical?
No.
So there's these two women who on TikTok kind of collaborated and came up with the unofficial Bridgerton musical.
On TikTok, or like posted it elsewhere?
No, like they posted the process of making the musical. So
okay.
They recorded an album. They won a Grammy. They had they kind of had a blessing from Netflix. They're like, we'll let you do this, but you know, we don't really want you making money off this. So then they started doing a series of live concerts of their performances. And Netflix like, hey, this is kind of crossing the line. We're happy for you to keep doing it, but you need to like pay a licensing fee or something along those lines. And they're like, nah, Netflix, get fucked. And then proceeded to hold these concerts, and then Netflix slapped it with a massive lawsuit. So, and everybody kind of turned on the women. They're like, Netflix is kind of in the right here. Shonda Rhimes and the creator of Bridgerton, like, their IP should be protected. So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know how you could make this project and not know that you're very much likely to... I imagine there would have been ways to make this project without making it clearly about without using the names of the Joker and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Did you watch the trailer for the People's Joker? What did you think?
Oh, it looked good. I thought it looked interesting.
That's a word.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously it is shot on a very lean budget and it's clearly very green screened. But yeah, it looks very experimental or whatever. Yeah, so
yeah. I think the other thing that this always just brings up to me is the fact that this isn't just a DC thing. This is also with a lot of other big properties and stuff. But like the whole, copyright stuff used to go into public domain at a certain stage, and Joker should be in the public domain at this point as a character.
But it's not. So you need to follow the rules.
I'm just saying, like, I think it's dumb. I'm going to stand by I think it's dumb. I think that DC should just harden the fuck up. They're literally, this character is like a fucking 100 years old. The fact that and they're not, unlike Bridgerton musical, whatever you're just talking about, where they're straight up playing those characters and turning it into a musical. This film is using the characters to tell a completely original story. I don't feel like it's at all.
Is it though? It's a retelling of the Joker's origin story. So,
did you watch the trailer?
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
But within the confines of like an actual
different coming of age story. Yeah, so I understand that. That's a new element that's not in the original, but
yeah, but it ties together all the different Jokers, and I don't know. I don't feel like it's comparable to something that's just straight up.
You knew you were walking. If you have that disclaimer at the start of your film, you knew you were very much in trouble.
I don't think so, because from all accounts, it sounds like
because fair use isn't an excuse; it's a defense.
Yeah, it's like a defense.
It's a defense to stop you potentially being put in jail or something like. I don't know exactly.
I'm all for people protecting their copyrights if like where it makes sense to me, and this is not a case where I feel like it makes sense to me. I feel like this is a big corporation and bullying someone. I feel like they've made an original film,
but it's not original.
It's using it's. I think it falls under fair use from all my understanding of it. I think it fairly falls under fair use. And maybe I'd have to fully watch the film to maybe hold my last judgment, but from everything I've read about it, it sounds utterly fair use to me.
Yeah, it's hard to say, obviously, without seeing it, but yeah.
Without seeing it.
I think some people have said, obviously, there is some things that, like, you can understand why they're having the troubles they've got. But yeah. I'm sure people will be able to see it eventually in some way, whether that's...
It just makes me think, like, maybe if you just did everything the exact same way, but you never called the character... Like, you call the character
exactly.
Jay, and then you call... Like, is that all that needs to be done?
If you called it Hotham City...
Yes, or something like that, yes.
And Dane...
Yes. Then
you would have been fine.
Which is dumb, but yes. I feel like maybe that's the little thing that could have changed.
Yeah,
to make it
that's
easier.
Literally what you had to do.
Yeah.
All right. Last interesting story. Netflix in subtitles soup. So the Malayan film Thamalulal, starring Tovino Thomas, Kalyani Priya Dashan, and Shine Tom Chaka in the lead roles, was an autumn treat on Netflix. The film started streaming on the platform September 11th, but in less than a day, it landed in an unseemly row. The company that did the subtitling in English for the film has accused the platform of butchering the lines. The English subtitles of the film Dalumbula, which we delivered to the Netflix team, were reviewed line by line and approved by the creative director and one of the writers, Mr. Mushin Parari. However, we are deeply saddened to inform you that the current subtitles published by Netflix are substantially edited, watered down, butchered versions of our work. The statement from Fill in the Blanks, the subtitling company said. The company said several nuances it included in the subtitles were missing in the Netflix version, especially the songs. They heavily toned down the song's subtitles to their literal meanings, made them soulless. The company also requested OTT platforms to respect its work. Subtitling, being a creative work, must consider the culture, humor, connotations, and local nuances of both the source and the targeted languages. Moreover, we find it unfair and unethical to edit the subtitles without the consent of the subtitle, artist, writer, director. We kindly request Netflix and other OTT platforms to abstain from doing this. I thought this is quite an interesting story because also... I want to say, I think it was the Paper Tigers One of the subtitles for one of the, I think it was a Vietnamese
I was about to say
version.
there was something last year that had a similar. Yeah.
Yeah. Also took issue with Netflix's altering of their subtitles.
Also, Squid Game had something similar.
I mean, Squid Game's
not
subtitles
directly
were just
from Squid Game, but from people who could understand. Yeah.
Yeah, I think people just generally consider the Squid Game subtitling bad. But yeah, just to go to the effort of changing somebody else's subtitles that have already been approved is a weird thing to do.
Yeah. I don't know why you would do that. I don't understand what's the...
The work has already been done.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't...
It's like literally changing lines in a movie that has already been made and getting somebody to dub over it or something.
What do they get out of it?
I don't know.
About. Yeah.
But yeah, let subtitles be how they're supposed to be. Netflix has not responded to the allegations till the moment of this being published, but on the site where
they're waiting for them to write it first, so then they can rewrite it.
But on the site where it explains its subtitling process, the platform says awkward language pulls you out of viewing experience instead of supporting the experience. Often these errors are erroneous but quite subtle in nature. We may reject a file for containing translations that are grammatically correct, but are simply phrases and colloquialisms that are not natural to the viewer. So,
what the fuck does that mean?
I have no idea. But this seems like a weird thing.
Well, I know what it means, but I'm like, why do you like? That's like,
why do you care? It means you don't pull something from a movie if the dialogue's weird.
Yeah, so they're taking out natural, as they're saying, colloquial wordings or like the way stuff's said, because they're saying it won't make sense to a Western audience or like Americans or whatever.
But it was already approved.
Yeah.
By the creative team. Yeah. So Netflix, just leave the subtitles alone. And like, obviously we've covered stories in the past where they're improving their subtitling, so maybe this isn't doing that any justice. Yeah.
No.
All right, let's move into giving some thumbs to some trailers. Of course, you can find all the trailers that will be talked about this week by going to explosion.com/what do you want to watch, or check out the show notes below. All right, first trailer for this week. And boy, there's some good trailers this week. First up, Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Directed by Ryan Johnson, starring Edward Norton, Janelle Monáe, Catherine Hahn, Leslie Odom Jr., Jessa Henwick, Madeline Klein, Kate Hudson, and Dave Bautista. In the follow-up to Ryan Johnson's Knives Out, Detective Benoit Blanc travels to Greece to peel back the layers of a mystery involving a new cast of colourful suspects. Dylan, what do you think of this trailer/teaser?
Fantastic. Can't wait. Give me more. Double thumbs up.
Yep, 2 thumbs up from me.
What more do you want me to say?
I mean, there's not a lot to this, but visually it's interesting. Obviously, there is some puzzle element to this as well, with all the something they're trying to unlock or solve. And yeah,
I know is that Dave Bautista like wears his tidy whities and fires a gun into there, and it's quite funny. I think Kate Hudson looks like
I don't know if it's tidy whities. I think it's Speedos,
and then Kate Hudson looks like she's on drugs, but that's fine.
So yeah, not a lot to say on this one other than we're super
excited.
I mean,
I just want to I don't even need any more. Like this is
this is enough.
Just let me watch it.
All right, so this is coming to Netflix on December 23rd, but potentially coming to cinemas sometime in November if we're lucky here in Australia. Fingers crossed.
Right.
Next trailer, I Want to Dance with Somebody, directed by Casey Lemons. Starring Naomi Ackie, Stanley Tucci, Ashton Sanders, Tamara Tooney, Nefessa Williams, and Clark Peters. From New Jersey choir girl to one of the best-selling and most awarded recording artists of all time, audiences are taken on an inspirational, poignant, and so emotional journey through Whitney Houston's trailblazing life and career, with show-stopping performances and a soundtrack of the icon's most beloved hits, as you've never heard them before. Don't you want to dance? Dylan, what did you think of the trailer for I Want to Dance with Somebody?
I thought it was really good. I thought it just looks, honestly, it sort of looks like a straightforward music biop, but looks like a good one. So I'm gonna go 1 up, 1 down, solely because it looked good, but also just a little bit too, as I'm saying, like it just looks like a music biop. Like cool. I'm excited. Everyone looked like they had a good time there. I guess Stanley Tucci's a bit of a weird casting choice, but that's fine.
Yeah, I guess I'll go one up, one down as well. I'm not super hyped on this. Just the title screen from the writer of Bohemian Rhapsody.
Hey, they didn't say the editor.
Doesn't instill confidence. And it kind of, from there, the trailer looks like Bohemian Rhapsody, much in the same setting. Like,
Not directed by the same person.
I know, but it's her stardom, and then there's like her performing in a massive stadium with a bunch of people. I feel like this is going to be very much Bohemian Rhapsody again, except Whitney Houston.
No, I feel like it's going to be better.
It's like, hey, Whitney, could you sing that song that we love to hear you sing right now? How'd you come up with it?
I mean, a bit. Also, I'm really keen to see Naomi Aki do well.
Yeah, hopefully. What's she done since Star Wars? I don't know.
She was in that miniseries that I liked, whatever that was called. Small Axe.
That's true.
She was in one of those.
Oh, she was in
sure
season
she
3
done a
of
Lego
Master
Star
of
Wars?
None.
There you go. Didn't watch that.
All right. So this is coming to cinemas Boxing Day. So look forward to that. Next up, The Fabelmans. Directed by Steven Spielberg, starring Gabrielle LaBelle, Michelle Williams, Paul Dano, Seth Rogen, and Judd Hirsch. Growing up in post-World War II Arizona from age of 7 to 18, a young man named Sammy Fabelman discovers a shattering family secret and explores how the power of films can help him see the truth. Dylan, what do you think of the trailer for The Fabelmans?
Oh, I think my favorite genre of film is filmmakers who love films making films about films. If that's a genre, I feel like I'm a big fan. So, I mean, look, it's Spielberg's autobiography, but you know, as close as we're going to get from him doing that. I think it looks beautiful. I think it looks like a fantastic story about growing up and the what he faced as a kid, as a Jewish kid, I guess. Then through to his love for cinema, his family dynamic, all these sorts of things, just like brought out in sort of, I guess, a heightened different way by like naming all the characters different and stuff like that. But I just think I have it. I think it is a genre that I'm like, because there's another trailer where I'm like, fucking, and I love Hugo, so it's just
What, the Empire of Light trailer? Did you see that one?
No, I didn't actually. No.
Yeah, I'll give this 2 thumbs up as well. I think, really
I can't think I said double thumbs up. Yes, double thumbs up. I forgot to say.
Yeah, I think it looks really good. How can you not love movies about people making movies? Really good. Paul Dano looking great. Michelle Williams looking great. The kid looks like he's doing a solid job. So I'm really keen to watch this. So this is coming to US cinemas November 11th. There is currently no Australian date, but probably in the next sometime between November and March, probably.
That should come out end of January.
I mean, yeah. Depends on how strong of an Oscar race it's getting. You know what I mean?
I think it's going to be
pretty
high
strong.
Based on all the... Yeah.
I mean, I saw someone say it is pretty much going to be the Best Picture winner. Yeah. Not necessarily because it deserves it, but because it fits the category.
Because it's a very good Spielberg film, which already puts it like
potentially one of his last. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next trailer, The Good Nurse, directed by Tobias Lindholm, starring Jessica Chastain, Eddie Redmayne, Namandi Asamuga, Kim Dickens, and Noah Emmerich. Nurse Amy Lauren is shocked when Charlie Cullen, one of her colleagues, is found responsible for the murder of dozens of patients over a period of 16 years across 2 states and 9 hospitals without being charged. Dylan, what do you think of this trailer for The Good Nurse?
I think it looked absolutely fucked up. That's what I think. How about that?
Yeah.
I mean, I was watching it.
It's really a serial killer movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally a serial killer movie. I mean, But yeah, I was watching it going, man, this shit looks fucked up. Is this a true story? Like that was my like I couldn't remember, and I was like,
I
watching
think it's
it
based on a novel. I want to say.
Yeah, it's based on a book. So I was like, oh, thank God, because that's fucked up, hey. But yeah, Eddie Redmayne just looks absolutely creepy throughout this entire trailer. I don't know what the fuck's going on there, but I'm going double thumbs up. I have it like, yeah, another genre I like. Fucked up serial killers in movies. And
I mean, the book is called The Good Nurse, a true story of medicine, madness, and murder. So,
oh my God, is it a real true story? If so, that's fucked up. I'm gonna Google it now. If it's true, that's fucking insane. Hey, like the fact that someone would get away with this for ages, that's fucked. I'm googling it now. It's based on a true story.
After his December 2003 arrest, registered nurse Charlie Cullen
Oh my
was quickly
God.
dubbed the Angel of Death by the media.
That's fucked up.
But Cullen was no mercy killer, nor was he a simple monster.
That's fucked, hey. All right. Well, I'm keen to watch this. Absolutely fucked up that someone did this, but yeah, cool. Keen to watch it.
Yeah, I think it's a really good trailer. I give it 2 thumbs up. Like this build, like it's a well crafted trailer with obviously the opening of her asking about his life, like this what is clearly a scene where she's being wired or whatever.
Yeah, she's like, will he notice all this sort of stuff?
Yeah, and then going back and finding out what leads up to that moment in the diner or whatever. Yeah, Eddie Redmayne being super creepy. Very, very creepy.
Very, very fucking creepy.
And Jessica Chastain, solid in this as well. So, yeah, 2 thumbs up for me. This is coming to Netflix on October 26th and potentially cinemas beforehand.
Good time for a Halloween movie.
Yeah. That's what we want. That's what we want, to all be afraid of nurses at this time.
Man, I felt better. Yeah, I felt better thinking it was a fictional story. You've ruined it for me.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Final trailer for this week, Babylon, directed by Damien Chazelle, starring Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, Diego Calva, Jovan Adepo, Lee Jun Lee, and Gene Smart. A tale of outsized ambition and outrageous excess. It traces the rise and fall of multiple characters during an era of unbridled decadence and depravity in early Hollywood. Young Mexican-American actor Manny Torres pursues a career in 1920s Hollywood, starting as an assistant. Dylan, what'd you think of this trailer?
I think this is going to be my favorite movie of the year. That's where I'm currently at on this.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the one issue is it looks like it's not releasing this year, but yes.
Yeah. Looks like it's going to be my favorite movie of the year it releases. I mean, look. Admitted Damien Chazelle fanboy, I guess. But also, that part aside, what an intense trailer. It reminded me of two things. So it reminded me of, it's a mix of Get Smart, John Travolta, combined with The Great Gatsby, is what it makes me think of. Was my initial reactions. Because shit just looks wild. But also, that's what I was hinting at before. This is also a movie about Hollywood, but not in a like, man, Hollywood's the greatest. This movie is like, man, them Hollywood types, they certainly do some crazy shit sometimes. Yeah, that part of it, but it just looks really funny too. Like there's a lot of laugh out loud moments in trailer, like Brad Pitt going off or whatever, and he falls off the side of the balcony, and then even the part there where it's like Margot Robbie's character's like, who wants to see me fight a snake? And Silas just, yeah, it's just fucking wild. I also just love the fact, like, it looks beautifully shot as well. That's other thing. Like, obviously, just like a lot going on and cinematography wise, and I feel like having done La La Land would definitely help do stuff like this, because there's like all those, the big musical sequences, people dancing, cameras moving around fast. There's no way that doesn't help you direct something that's as hectic as some of these dance party scenes that are happening. Looks like that happening in this. I also just love the fact that this is a director who has not, hit success with in
your opinion,
comes out Whiplash, right? Which is the major first film he does that's a success, which is like a fucking horror movie about a drummer. Then does a movie, a love story about musicals, and like he doesn't. You can never guess. He puts a man on the moon. Then he puts a man on the moon, and now he's doing this. Yeah, I love his just he does whatever story he wants. Like he's a good sign of a director that you'll never get sick of watching, because you're never going to go like, oh, he's doing the same thing again. So, you know. Yeah, I watched this trailer. I was like, I can't wait to watch that. Like, 3 thumbs up. I don't.
Wow, that's first. Yeah, I'll give this 2 thumbs up
trailer
as well.
Here's the last thing. The trailer's like 2 minutes something. Like, it's long, right?
Yeah.
But it's just because it's so hectic. I don't know what the fuck's going on. How good? I have no idea really what this movie's about. I watched the trailer. I was like, I don't know what the fuck I just watched, but I feel like I done acid. Like,
I mean, yeah, it's really good. The trailer starts with Margot Robbie snorting the Paramount stars.
Mm.
So, you know, you quickly know where this trailer's going. Yeah, it's weird. It weirdly feels like a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood prequel, set like 60 years before with very similar characters. Yeah, just really good. Crazy visuals. Like, I don't know if this trailer can be played on television, because obviously there's some stuff in the various scenes, like sex stuff.
Drug use.
Lots of drug use. And yeah, like you said, there's nothing, no idea what really the plot of this movie is. And from what I heard, there may not be a plot in this movie at all. So
it's just a vibe.
Yeah, they're just going for a vibe. So yeah, it's 2 thumbs up from me as well. So I don't know if I actually pulled the release date for this. Hang on. Babylon, currently set to be released in Australia, January 19th. Which is a shame for me, because it was set to be released on Boxing Day.
What the fuck?
But it seems to have been pushed.
Here's the problem. Even if it comes out Boxing Day, that's going to annoy me, because it's after we'll have done our awards.
Yeah, so I mean, it really doesn't matter. You might as well move it to March.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, January, I mean. Yeah. All right. Let's wrap up this week's episode of What Do You Want to Watch with our What Do You Want to Watch top 3.
Definitely in the top 3.
We talked about it before. Obviously, the Toronto International Film Festival and the Venice Film Festival, 2 of the biggest film festivals of the year, and 2 film festivals that kind of shape what we're going to look forward to for the rest of the year, and kind of shape the Oscars, the Oscar race, have concluded. So this week's top 3 is our top 3 most anticipated Toronto International Film Festival or Venice Film Festival films. Dylan, what's your number 3?
Number 3 is The Woman King. Obviously, we talked about the trailer, I don't know, last episode, probably. Banger of a trailer. I believe we all gave it double thumbs up. Every review has said this movie is, a must-watch, one of the best of the year. Says it's, cinematic glory, must-watch in cinema, sort of, like a great thing. Which I'm great. We're having a fucking year for movies that are, like, hopefully getting people back to the cinemas as far as non-Marvel comic book stuff to get people in cinemas. Like blockbusters, but also like have stories. Everything's people have been saying is like great performances. Viola Davis, sort of potential Oscar nominee, hopeful Oscar nominee role, I guess, and everything else. But yeah, super keen for that one.
Yeah. So Woman King coming to Australian cinemas 27th of October. Yeah.
How do you know I was gonna say that? How'd you get that ready so fast?
Well, I searched it as soon as you said The Woman King. So
that's pretty good on you. Pretty good podcast hosting there. Pretty good.
Yeah. My number 3 is The Fabelmans. Obviously, we just talked about it. But All the Bards Out of Venice is, everything out of TIFF is like super high in the movie. Very enjoyable. I think it's got a 90-something on Rotten Tomatoes at the moment. And yeah, it just looks really good. Obviously, Spielberg at his best. I love Paul Dano. Michelle Williams, like, she's got another great performance in her. So yeah, looking forward to that. Of course, like we just said, no current release date for The Fabelmans, but soon, hopefully. Dylan, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Glass Onion.
Glass Onion is my number 1.
My number 1's The Fabelmans.
Interesting. Okay, would you want to elaborate? Well, other than, Glass Onion. Great trailer. We love Knives Out. Love Rian Johnson. Want more of him.
Yeah, pretty much that. I mean, I was already hyped for it, so I feel like it's sort of an easy pick for this list because I would have already had it on here, even if it like it was going on this list no matter what. I feel like the best thing I've seen is I've seen a lot of like Twitter reviews, like headlines. I haven't actually read a full review, but I've Twitter headline reviews, people saying, it's better than Knives Out, like, which I'm like, okay, well, Knives Out's pretty fucking good. So like, people also saying it's very funny, like way funnier than the first one. So that's also a plus as far as I'm concerned, because I feel like this genre can do comedy quite well, like as a genre. So, and I'm just interested to see what the story is. Like, that's the only thing that we don't know, obviously. And I don't need to know. I'm fine. I don't need to know. I'm good. Yeah, how about you? So, if it's your number one.
Yeah, I mean, and anything Ryan Johnson does at this point, I want to watch. And yeah, great cast. An interesting visual style, at least in that trailer. And from what everybody said, it's like better than the first one. So I have to believe them. So yeah, that's why it's not my number one. Do you want to talk about The Fabelmans?
I mean, everything was sort of saying before about the trailer, so I don't need to say too much. But yeah, obviously Spielberg's one of the greatest directors of all time. One of the greatest still working directors. He's sometimes hit or miss for me, and I guess most people in general. Like he's definitely consistent, and he doesn't really make bad movies, but I'd say he doesn't always make the great movies. But every now and then he does whip one out, and this definitely looks to be that. And as I said before, just like as far as the story goes, like this sort of cinema, like kid, like growing up to love cinema and like using it as an escape, and making all his home movies and stuff like that. I love all that sort of stuff, like especially as someone who used to run around like making home videos on camera that only had like a 2-minute lead and recorded to a VHS, and used to get my dog to act in it, and get my brother to act in it, and all these, like I used to do all this sort of stuff. So I definitely find that sort of heartwarming to see that sort of stuff. And the film looks great, so I'm very, very keen to watch it.
All right. So reiterate, my number 3 was The Fabelmans. My number 1 was Glass Onion. Number 2, The Banshees of Inisherin. Obviously, the new Martin McDonagh film starring mind blank.
Colin
Farrell and Brendan Gleeson. It's currently sitting at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes with a 8.6 average critic score, which makes it the highest scoring film coming out of Toronto Film Festival. Very keen. Everything everybody's saying is it's fantastic. Very funny, but also, heartwarming, heart-rendering, I guess. So yeah, very keen for that movie. And that one is coming out Boxing Day, so that's promising. So yeah. All right, let us know what your top 3 most anticipated films out of Toronto Film Festival or the Venice International Film Festival by going to explosion.com/Twitter or jump to the Discord at explosion.com/Discord. If you want to help us out here at What Do You Want to Watch, leave us a review on our podcast or on Podchase, or tell people about the show. Leave us 5 stars. Anywhere you can leave 5 stars. And if you like this episode, thought it was worth it all, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosion.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.